Previously on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
I chose you because you were special. I knew we would be perfect together. And I was right.
Here you now stand. This is my last fight. A true test of legends. Our story will outlive us both. Set a fire in your heart, Spartan. Bare your fangs. Fight hard. Die well.
The replacing of Chief with the player character also makes sense from a long-term goal perspective. 343 is going with a Destiny-like 10-year plan with Halo Infinite, and so it would make sense that they want to keep the player invested by telling a more personal story for the player, because it now becomes the player's story.
And now, the conclusion.
During the Halo Infinite section of the Xbox and Bethesda showcase, I said that Master Chief is the heart of Halo. This is true, and we can't wait for all of you to play the latest, epic, and intimate chapter of Chief's story. But it isn't the whole truth. There's another hero standing beside Master Chief, at the very heart of the Halo universe. Some of you may have met this hero way back in 2001, with the launch of Halo Combat Evolved. Some of you will meet this hero for the first time this holiday, because this hero is you. Or rather, they are the character you become every time you step into a Halo multiplayer match. And the next step of their journey begins with the launch of Halo Infinite's first multiplayer season, which we're calling Heroes of Reach. Customizing your character, making your Spartan look and sound exactly the way you want, is a huge part of the journey. So is tracking your triumphs and setbacks, or interacting with your friends and foes on a new and improved Halo waypoint. But your journey is more than that. At the center of our plans is a goal to deeply root your multiplayer character in the large Halo universe and give them a vital, active role in the Halo story moving forward. How exactly we're going to do this in the seasons and years ahead? Well, we're not ready to share the details yet, but I can share that we picked Heroes of Reach as a seasonal theme for a very specific reason. Reach has a rich story. It's a key location for Spartans of old, and a focal point for a new generation of Spartans preparing to wrestle with the perils and mysteries of a galaxy that has fundamentally changed after the events of Halo 5.
Oh, do the thing! Seriously, watch this.
I am Nostradamus, the voice of God.
What's going on, ladies and gents, boys and girls, Spartans of all ages, Joker back again once again, and today, people, today we have a lot of interesting Halo information to cover, coming to us via Halo Infinite's June 2021 blog update. Now, I'm not going to be covering the entirety of the blog update. It's been out for quite some time, and literally everybody and their grandmother has already talked about it. So I feel like me just sitting here reading it verbatim would be rather redundant. Also, it's kind of sort of like 7,000 plus words, so we'd be here all day. And while I'm sure many of you would love that, Halo content doesn't do quite well enough for me to devote that much time to a single video. Multiple videos over varying subjects? Sure. But a single video? Not quite. Not yet, at least. So, if we're not covering the blog post verbatim, what are we doing? Well, I believe in the latest blog post that 343 has hinted that Halo Infinite's destiny may be, well, more destiny than we originally thought. We opened the video with a quote from Joseph Staten talking about how at the center of 343's plans for the evolution of Halo over the next 10 years is the player's multiplayer character. Recently, I made a video titled The Death of Master Chief. In it, I speculated, as you saw in the Previously On segment, that Halo Infinite may be moving away from Master Chief and towards a Noble Six-like character. There's a lot of practical reasons for this, one of which is the unfortunate reality of the voice actor's age. Steve Downes is 71 years old. In 10 years, he'll be 81. And I want to be clear, I'm not pointing this out in any disrespectful way. That said, when you're a multi-billion-dollar corporation laying down what's arguably going to be the foundation for the future of your multi-billion-dollar multimedia empire, you do have to consider not only how you're going to future-proof it, but how you're going to diversify those plans. It's only pragmatic. And it's not like it's actually all that bizarre. Halo for quite some time has been moving away from the Master Chief as the central character. Under Bungie, you had the rookie in Halo ODST, and Noble 6 in Halo Reach. And anyone with a pair of eyes may have noticed that Halo Reach has quite the influence on Halo Infinite, at least in terms of art style. And while I personally have many issues with Halo Reach as a game, one of the coolest things that it did was make the player Noble 6. Under 343 in Halo 4, you have Spartan Ops, which I think was the inspiration for what we'll be seeing in Halo Infinite going forward as a franchise over the next 10 years. Starting with one last hoorah for Master Chief, while closing that John and Cortana story loop. Then picking up with the player character and their journey going forward. Halo 4 Spartan Ops, in my opinion, was kinda sort of ahead of its time. Conceptually at least, more so when you consider the current state of Destiny 2's storytelling. I do find it more than a little ironic that in 2012, Halo 4 Spartan Ops was lambasted for the reuse of campaign levels. Fast forward not even a year or two later, and Bungie with Destiny 1 was doing the exact same thing. Fast forward nearly 7 years later, and Destiny's current storytelling model is Spartan Ops with vastly less interesting gameplay diversity and story presentation. Spartan Ops, for those of you who do not know, followed two casts of characters, Fireteam Majestic and Fireteam Crimson. Fireteam Crimson was the player's fireteam, whereas Fireteam Majestic was the narrative fireteam. The character Thorn was meant to be a player surrogate, likely because 343 wanted to use pre-rendered CGI cutscenes to tell the story. Interestingly enough, Thorn was supposed to be a member of Fireteam Osiris, at least at an early point in development for Halo 5 Guardians. He was replaced by Edward Buck later on due to the actor Ethan Peck having scheduling conflict with another TV show. Which is likely why Buck seems so out of character. Then again, it could have just been Halo 5 Guardians' poor writing. Who knows? Speaking of Halo 5 saw the further diminishment of Master Chief's role as the main character in the franchise with the introduction of Locke. In Halo 5, you spend the vast majority of the story playing Locke, a character I think 343 was trying to use to ease us into the idea of removing the Chief as the focal point of the franchise, which ultimately blew up in 343's face. Something they would have known if they actually paid attention to the release of Halo 2 and how utterly divided the community was on that. Yeah, believe it or not, there was a time where people actually really did not like the Arbiter. But you know how the saying goes, the more things change, the more they stay the same. That said, I do think 343 learned their lesson. You can't replace the Master Chief, not with a new character. When you do it with a character like Noble 6, there's this sort of wink wink nudge nudge, this is kinda sorta just Master Chief, but like actually you because you've always been Master Chief, wink wink nudge nudge. With somebody like Locke, well, Locke has a history, he has a miniseries, he has character development. Same with Buck or Thorn. When and if 343 ever replaces Master Chief, it has to be with a player-created character. It's like Staten said, there's another hero standing beside Master Chief, at the very heart of the Halo universe. Some of you may have met this hero way back in 2001, with the launch of Halo Combat Evolved. Some of you will meet this hero for the first time this holiday, because that hero is you. And there's something to that just fundamentally resonates with the Halo franchise. The question then becomes, what form does this future of Halo take? We already know that Halo Infinite will mark the start of 343's new 10-year plan for the franchise, though we saw how that worked out with Anthem, so yeah. You know, it might work with Halo though. Halo, I do think, will very much be a Destiny-like game, and we're already starting to see hints of that through both this article and the Vidoc. I've already illustrated that Destiny in its current iteration is at least reminiscent of Halo 4's Spartan Ops. So, the proof of concept is already there. 343 was already playing with this episodic content model before Destiny 1 was even released. But let's go ahead and dive a little deeper than that. There's also the curious case of the Academy Playspace. The stated goal of this playspace is to help players learn how to play Halo. But you don't need a tutorial arena to do this. Anyone could just load up a custom game and learn that way. Hell, you could have an option for bots in the custom games, which they're going to have. But 343 has gone to the trouble of crafting what sounds like, for all intents and purposes, a social space, a hub, a base of operations, a tower. But there's more to it than just that. The blog post opens with an interview, and in it we learn what the pillars for Halo's continued evolution will be. After all, Halo Infinite will be a live game, with seasons being the key to the way the franchise evolves. Quote, the team also mentioned seasons a few times before, including a recent Halo Infinite multiplayer overview video. How will Halo Infinite function as a live game, and what role will seasons have as a part of that? Ryan Paradise, so nice they named it twice, Seasons are the core container or framework for the content that we'll be delivering to our players. It's a concept that they should be familiar with in the MCC already, but for our new players, it's pretty simple. Roughly every 3 months, we're going to kick off a new season. This comes with a ton of updates, new gameplay content, new events, new systems, new customization, new progression, new. As a Destiny player, this should sound relatively familiar. They then go on to talk about rewards and events. For Season 1, think of events as fun things for the players to experience and get rewarded. Almost every week, we'll mix up the activities that are presented to the player. Certain big weeks will feature events that have new activities and specific reward tracks. Free reward tracks. We will provide more details on specific events before the launch, but be on the lookout for a special event type with a specific thematic reward called a fracture. The Battle Pass and other main vectors will supply canon customization. The fracture and some events will, at times, lead into things further afield, like the Yori armor shown in the multiplayer trailer. If we take this seasonal model, and what Joseph Staten said about bringing the player's PvP character into the narrative of the Halo universe, then we start to see a very Destiny-like parallel. More so when you consider things that 343 has done in the past, like Spartan Ops. But I think it goes further. I mean, think about it. Halo Infinite is releasing with this allegedly massive world filled with lots of different objectives. We saw that during the original gameplay reveal. It would be nothing to repurpose that world to tell the player's story. In fact, in the lore at least, 343 has begun to show that they're doing just that, with Kelly Gay's new Halo novel, The Rubicon Protocol, which, quote, as many of you have been piecing together throughout the previous trailers and information drops, Halo Infinite's campaign begins roughly 6 months after UNSC forces were ambushed at Zeta Halo. During that time, the UNSC has been mounting a resistance on a shorn fragment of the ring, desperately trying to hold out long enough for hope to arrive. In Halo the Rubicon Protocol, you'll get a unique glimpse of humanity's struggle to survive amidst the growing banished occupation that takes place in that period. So 343 is already establishing that Zeta Halo is going to be a significant backdrop for at least the very first year of Halo storytelling. And if there's a book worth of storytelling for Zeta Halo on top of a game worth of storytelling for Zeta Halo, why not just repurpose that sandbox to not only push the story forward, but do so with a Destiny-like player character? This PvE storytelling would also kind of clarify what 343 meant when they said the Academy would be a place where you could test out different loadouts. The loadouts are not for PvP. PvP, at least at its core, has been stated to be all about fair starts, about scavenging weapons and equipment off the map. The loadouts are for PvE, which gets us into some really interesting theory crafting territory, because Halo's not a looter shooter. But on the same note, that doesn't mean it can't be. Remember, at one point a Halo MMO was in the works, so the idea of how loot would work in Halo, at the very least, has been pondered by someone at some point, at some time. Halo 5 Warzone exists, with a cavalcade of unique and interesting weapons, and variations of weapons, and variations of vehicles. And while I don't think Halo would do a Destiny-like loot system, a Warframe-like crafting system, where you farm blueprints and then you farm the crafting materials to make weapons and armor that are largely static, well, that's most certainly not out of the question, definitely not inconceivable, and all of the puzzle pieces kind of already exist in the franchise. So, spitballing prediction time. Halo Infinite will likely have a Destiny-like post-story mode where the player now becomes the main character. Year 1 will take place on Zeta Halo. It'll be a Spartan Ops-like mode, but larger, utilizing the open world like Destiny, Warframe, Anthem. Halo Infinite will have PvE loadouts, and my big prediction here is loot/crafting. Gun to head, I'd say Warframe-like crafting system, where you farm blueprints and materials and make weapons and gear. See Halo 5's cavalcade of unique and diverse weapons and vehicles and all their iterations. The long-term PvE draw would then be replaying the Spartan Ops-like story mode and exploring the open world to farm loot and materials. And every few seasons we'd get new story and or mission content. And since Halo Infinite's supposed to last for 10 years, it would probably be intelligent for 343 to add new locations once a year. Earth, Sanghelios, the Ark, Onyx, and on and on and on and on. Atriox doesn't seem to be the main bad guy of Halo Infinite, and yet they spent a lot of time setting him up, especially his return from the Ark. which happened in Halo The Shadow of Reach. Atriox, currently at least, is more of a fan antagonist than a John antagonist. So if we do get a post-game Spartan Ops-like mode, I could see him being the Oryx-like big bad. Another bold prediction is that I think we'll find that the Didact is alive and well. Well, mostly well. In Halo Infinite as the Harbinger.
The Harbinger and the Banished share the same goal. We fight together to honor the will of Atriox.
And he will be the true overarching villain for the main story for the Master Chief. Now, how much of that will happen? Who knows? All of it? None of it? Some of it? It's just fun to theorize. For example, I could see there being a loot-like system in Halo Infinite for the PvE content, just as likely as I could see the PvE content being nothing more than an interesting way to level up the Season Pass. But those are just my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Remember to like, but only if you did. Subscribe for more. Feel free to donate to my Patreon if you're feeling particularly generous, but above all else, stay frosty.